Rory McIlroy was inconsistently consistent at Augusta, but he was still magically delicious. Is the Saudis Rogue Tour going belly up? Live and let die. Diana Russini found herself in hot water with Mike Vrabel and her bosses at The Athletic. The courts have ruled. If you cheat, lie, and threaten harm, you get probation? WTF. After further review, it's Angry Old Guys talking sports and stuff. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show that's heavy on the opinion and light on the research. I'm Jim Watson, and I think you know these two guys who always show up in these boxes. On the right side, in the one box, it's a man who's basing his truthfulness on the Russini explanation completely on his 1 to 10 scale of hotness. Yeah, I saw the text, Pete. That's all you wanted to talk about, hotness.
I think that was Tommy's text.
That was.
I'm talking about the ethics.
Peter is all about journalistic ethics.
The guy in the three
That's why he's doing this
over
show.
The shoulder shot. That is the last Eric Swalwell holdout in California when the dunker near Coachella. That's Tommy Catlett. Good luck with that, Tommy. Wow, what a shock! Eric Swalwell's a dick. Who could have seen that coming? Wow, amazing.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Where was I on Kalshi on that one, Peter? That was easy money. Yeah.
I could have told you that a dozen years ago, and everyone else could have. That's the thing.
Yeah. Maybe I can get a bet on his AOC Vapid. All right. We always start every show with a disclaimer because my wife is a fruitful career that she says, please don't damage it for me. And usually when we bring it up, Tommy has some character or an avatar that represents my wife. And I believe that's Sabrina Carpenter from Coachella. And that's okay. Sabrina Carpenter is very popular in my house. Let me do the disclaimer. The views expressed by the host on this podcast are mine alone and don't reflect the views or beliefs of my wife and children, who are decent and honorable people who also suffer my existence. Signed, Watty's wife. Now listen, Sabrina Carpenter, my 12-year-old loves her, although, as Roxy says, she's got a filthy mouth, which is the part I like best, but we can't listen to it on long drives. You know, you got to listen to the bubblegum version. But Peter, do you know the controversy happened to her at Coachella?
Refresh my memory. I read about it once.
She's at the keyboard and she's playing, something slow. She's changing the mood, she's bringing it down, and it's somber. And, of course, the crowd wants to yell out during the lull. And a woman yells out, and she goes, what are you yodeling? Are you yodeling? And she goes, no, it's my culture. And she goes, your culture is yodeling? And the girl goes, no, I'm Muslim. And it's a celebration cry, I think, among Muslims. I don't know this. Sabrina Carpenter didn't know it. And then people ripped her because she thought it was yodeling. Like, what, is she supposed to know all the celebration cries from around the world? It wasn't offensive. She just didn't know. I didn't know either. Now we all know. So, but of course, she had to apologize. And, Sabrina's had to apologize for more things than that. So, whatever. But that's California. That's Coachella. That's the world we live in. I wouldn't apologize. I'd tell them to pound sand.
She had to apologize for the fan being rude and interrupting her act at Coachella.
Exactly. By the way, when I go to a comedy club, there it is. When I go to a comedy club or a concert and someone starts yelling, if they're in my area, I said, hey, your name's not on my ticket. Shut up. I'm not here for you. Right? Unless the singer, the performer actually asks the crowd a question, just be a prop. That's what you are, as the crowd. Nobody came here to see you, Jethro. Just relax. Wait in the truck. All right. Let's get rolling. Go ahead. You got something? What?
Oh, I was just gonna say I've been put on warning. We're going to see Morgan Wallen, my girlfriend and I, in 2 weeks in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium, and she will dance every song. And she looked at me. She goes, you are going to sing every song. Do not do that. Even though we are, by the way, in the last row of Allegiant Stadium. So there's no one for me to bother, but I will be singing.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen is
yodeling.
Morgan Wallen is the new bad boy of country music. Chucked a chair off a roof and almost hit a Nashville cop and all that. How much of it is real? How much of it was promo? But he's great. He's got a couple of really good songs that I like. He did one with it's a duet with who is it? Peter
with the Canadian star. Oh, and she's terrific.
Yeah,
and she catches
yeah.
slack.
Well, he's done that with like 4 or 5 different people. Everybody wants to get on stage with him because he's an ATM right now. But I mean, it's great. He's just a goofy, good old boy who likes to drink beer and he can play guitar. And he's a billionaire now, so he's the guy.
We have we got ours on pre-sale for $250 each. We have the worst seat in the house. The place holds 70-something thousand. You do the math. He's the hottest thing in music. All music.
So you're so far away from Morgan Wallen, he could be Morgan Fairchild. You wouldn't know the difference.
Would not see her. She's so left.
Oh.
Is she still around?
Back in the day.
Fairchild's still around? Yeah, back in the day.
She is.
Back in the day?
She is. Far cry from, what was it, Falcon Crest or...
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But aren't we all? All right, let's get on to the Masters. Right.
A far cry from Pheasant Farms?
After setting, that's an inside joke.
Sorry.
After setting the Augusta record for 36 holes, Rory McIlroy gave it all back on Saturday, if you were watching this. And then he steadied his nerves and limped home with a one-shot win on Sunday. This is the final putt. CBS had 74 cameras, and they were all behind him. That was the shot you wanted right there. We're gonna talk about that scream in a second. Everybody got butt hurt over, I didn't have the front shot of him tapping in from 14 inches. Relax, it was an emotion shot. You don't need to see the ball go into the cup. Like everybody got all worried about it. It didn't bother me at all. I work in sports television. I didn't care. Besides, he won it last year. We already know it. And look, since we just saw him, he leans back. There's that stupid club in Ireland. He showed it so many times. I'm actually now a member. I don't know how, but I owe him dues. What the hell? A bunch of pasty Limerick weenies in the front row going crazy. Hey, kids, you're not getting any of that money. And when he gets there, he's going to go, who are you? And walk right by you. So calm down. Yeah, I don't know. All right. But he leans back.
I was watching Making Ned Divine.
Is pasty Limerick offensive?
No. By the way, I've been to Limerick. The hardest I've ever seen it rain, and I've lived in Seattle and Hawaii. The hardest I ever saw it rain was in Limerick. I was on a 10-day golf tour with 3 other losers who had no one special in their life, and we rented a van. We should have rented a driver. But it was 4 golf bags and 4 duffel bags. And we all had our nicknames. I got duffel bags for everybody, and I stitched their nicknames. Reichling was Reich, Watty. But one of my friends' names is Wiedemann. And without thinking, I stitched weed on the outside. And he had a real trouble getting through LAX customs on his way back. And I said to the guy, I said, honestly, do you think he has 40 pounds of weed in here? And we wrote weed on the outside of the bag. And he said, hey, hotheads have done dumber stuff than that. Which is true. And by the way, here's another little known Watty fact. Never in my life, never even once, and I hand on the Bible, I've never smoked a joint in my life. Never one.
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry.
Never done coke. Never done pills, never done anything. I like to drink, but never done an illicit
more than your average
drug.
man.
And someone said to me one time when I brought this up, they said, "Wow, you could be president." And my wife said, "No, actually, you can't be president if you haven't done drugs because nobody will believe it, right?" Which is true.
Just say you didn't inhale.
So when Rory leans back and does that yell, you know what I said at home? I said, "Bullshit." Because he won it last year. He acts like it was the pent-up 10 years. Remember, with 10 years without a major, he ended that last year. Now he's considered one of the greats. I just thought it was forced. I thought it wasn't sincere, and I thought it was ridiculous. you had a lot of time. Remember, he chipped on, he had two putt. He got within 14 inches. He walked all the way up, marked his ball. He let his playing partner finish out. So he had about 2 to 4 minutes before he had to tap that in. I really doubt all of that emotion just bubbled out of him. Look, you're going to make the putt. You've already won. You've had 3 minutes right there. Take a breath, look up, maybe say yes. But I don't buy that. I don't know, Peter. What's your take?
Well, McIlroy's always, by the way, Tate McRae is the collaborator with Morgan Wallen you were thinking of. Incredible,
yes.
Beautiful, terrific pop star out of Canada. And she catches all kinds of flack because, God forbid, you do a duet with a guy who threw a chair off a Nashville bar.
Wait, isn't she dating Jack Hughes too? You told us she was dating Jack Hughes.
She is. It's a good year for Jack Hughes. Very good.
Wow.
She is.
Year? How about a month?
I'm mostly with you on McIlroy. I mean, props to it. He is the man in golf now. And the Scheffler-McIlroy thing, I think, could be really good for golf. And golf needs it, although the PGA's had a lot of good news in the last few months. And McIlroy had a great week. Not only does he first one of four and the first guy in forever to back-to-back, well, since Tiger, back-to-back Masters, but then, of course, he's Mr. Anti-Live, and we'll get to Live in a second. I'm with you on McIlroy. I'm tired of McIlroy 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. He's an inconsistent, kind of petulant, not a great fan of this country. I draw a big line there. But got to give him props for the golf. To go from 6 up going into Saturday to 3 back. And not only, and you got Justin Rowe. I mean, you got guys who've won majors, and he just, not that he was making birdies, but they weren't. Last couple hours, Jim, Tommy, was there a birdie in the Masters? I mean, it was great drama. It did, but no one was making anything except he was making pars, and he won it.
Here's our new.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I'd just say what it showed to me is even at that level, I think because he'd won it the prior year and has the career slam, it's amazing how you see these guys, the best guys, dissemble. I mean, even at that level, the pressure gets to them because it's a one-on-one sport. It's like tennis, it's like boxing. You can get all the advice from your caddy, your whole team, but the back nine at the Masters on Sunday, it takes anyone down.
You guys know because the cue for me to talk is the 3-shot, but I hate when I hate when a guy collapses and they talk about him choking for the next 2 years. So after he did collapse, I was rooting for him to not lose. I don't want to hear Rory choked for the next year.
Yeah,
from angry old guys talking sports.
I like exactly because we would have too, because it was low fruit, so we would have pulled it. But when he was in that 10-year slump, I liked him because he was the pasty Sergio Garcia.
Oh, pasty again.
He was
Sergio had a good week.
He was close, but Sergio broke his driver. You know what? Let me ask you a question, Pete. Who do you want to drink with, Sergio Garcia or Rory McIlroy?
Sergio Garcia.
Of course. That dude knows how to party. That's why he never wins. So, but here's the thing with McIlroy on this one. This is not going to be considered a great Masters. This guy was leaking oil all the way the last 3 holes. 18, he sprays it into the pine straw. He's 40 yards out of the fairway. And then he hits it, and then he knocks it into the trap, then he blasts out, and then he 2-putts from 35 feet, right?
I want to see his final putt again.
And he ends up, so he bogeys 18. He bogeys 18 to win the Masters,
and
right?
Shouts.
So, yeah, but that's not how you win a Masters. You bury a 20-footer for birdie on 18. And to me, I don't know. I just thought that was pretty weak. That's like winning the Indy 500 on a yellow flag, right? On a caution. It's just kind of anticlimactic at that point. And the fact there were no birdies, they want to toughen that course up. They don't want guys going 23 under. They they want to make it like a U.S. Open where it's really tough. I mean, 18, if you remember that crane shot from the tee, I mean, it looks like they're hitting down an alley. Like, it makes me nervous watching it. I'm thinking, how does anybody hit a ball 300 yards that straight? I mean, those trees, the branches are almost touching each other. I don't know. Of course, it's a bit of an illusion on TV, but, you know, they make that course as hard as it can be. They don't want people coming in there and taking advantage of it.
He's funny, McIlroy. He's not John Daly, but sometimes you'd swear he is. Like, he will find a way to take, it's kind of like Mickelson in that, right? Like Mickelson at
Yeah.
He'll find a way. In the 18th hole, he didn't have to. I guess he hit driver, but he didn't have to. And sure enough, but they say what they also did, you talk about him making like U.S. Open, what they also did, unlike U.S. Opens, like they had the trees trimmed enough he could almost hit it anywhere, which he did, and still find the way to, you know, maybe at worst make bogey.
Yeah, I remember, Pete, when they showed the shot after his tee shot on 18 and he was in the pine straw, I thought, you know, he may not have an option. He might have to punch out. And then they go down there and I'm like, that's wide open. It looks like a muni course. You know, there were trees, but he had plenty of room. I mean, he actually could have knocked it on the green, but he didn't because he was tight. He dropped it in the bunker, and then he splashes out of the bunker about like I could have, and then he two putts. So he did nothing on 18. That was impressive. And listen, if Justin Rose could have birdied at all down the stretch, it'd have been a playoff, and I bet Justin Rose would have beat him in the playoff, right?
Well, much less.
McIlroy wasn't playing great golf at the end. And that brings up another point. Scotty Scheffler should have won this tournament. And you know who I blame? I blame that selfish newborn infant of his who had all night changing diapers and getting formula. Look, he cost his daddy $4.5 million. Well, I guess $2 million, and if you do the math, net. But yeah, $4.5 million to win a golf tournament. That's unbelievable. You can almost buy a house in Florida for $4.5 million.
Hey, Watty's about to.
Okay. So,
living next to Tiger. Living next to Tiger. Put up a fence. Don't let your kids out.
I think the only one of us who had anybody on that board was Tommy. Didn't you have Scheffler, Tommy?
I did. He was chalk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all right. You went with your guy. You know, there's no guarantee. All right. I'm going to leave it on this, guys, as we move on to the next golf topic. Next year, the Ryder Cup. You know where it is, Peter?
So
Pasty, Ireland. A little town in Ireland named Pasty.
Ireland. It's in Ireland. Yeah. Yeah, it's in Ireland. So it's going to be wild. You know, so, you know, Rory will be the guy and all that. So listen, I don't dislike Rory. I just can't find anything I like about him. I mean, you know, my new motto is ABR. I'm yelling AB. Anybody but Rory. Anybody but Rory.
I watched. Did you see, Tommy? Did you see they just did? I'll say it was Netflix. I think it was. Might have been Amazon. The documentary on him.
I didn't watch it because I don't want to know any more about it.
Tommy, I came away with. It was fine.
They spent a lot of time in that pub in Hollywood.
Yeah, but it was kind of phlegmatic. I didn't feel really kind of like what you're saying, Jim. I mean, he's the best golfer now.
He's too guarded. He's too packaged. I don't feel like I'm seeing the real guy there. He's very careful about what he says, what he does, when he's walking and the camera's on him. You know, it was interesting, and I give him a break on this one. After he putts out and he wins it, and he hugs his caddy, and then he goes over, and the first one to get to him is his little daughter, Poppy, who's just beautiful and wonderful. And I'm a dad, and I get that moment, and it's great. And I know it's coerced. They got her, and they roll her out to him and all that. But then after he holds Poppy for a second, he puts her back down, and off she runs. He's staying there for a second, and do you remember he had to go like this? And you know who he was signaling? His trophy wife to come out with the giant hat. By the way, if your husband's on the leaderboard on a Sunday, don't wear a giant hat, because when you have to go in to kiss him, you know, it's like a welder's hood. He's got to go underneath it to get to you. You know,
you lose tongue on tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, I always go there. You can count on it.
Hey, but By the way, I got to tell you guys this story. It's completely off track, but I know you love my stories. You ask for more of them every week. So last year,
fault, Tom.
so last year, my daughter, who was a fifth grader at the time, my oldest daughter, who was a fifth grader, had her day at school where the health instructor came in and did the birds and the bees talk.
Oh my Lord.
So fifth grade is where they do this, and they explain where babies come from. And when I tried to tell my daughter my story, when my daughter asked me where do babies come from, I started with, well, first off, Daddy gets drunk at a hockey game. That's how my story started. And apparently that's not what they teach at the school. So my daughter has the birds and the bees. I always pick up because I'm a better dad than anybody else. And I'm sitting in front of the school, and I'm in the car, and I got, Tom Petty radio on or Margaritaville or something. And I'm just rocking out, and I look in the rear view mirror, and I see my daughter crossing the street with all of her classmates. And I'm thinking, oh, well, I wonder what reaction I'm going to get now that she knows that babies don't come from the stork. And she walks up to the car. She gets in, drops her backpack on the floor, slams the door, and stares straight out the windshield. And I just sit there because I live with three women, so I know enough to just wait. And all of a sudden, she looks up without looking at me, and she says,
"You're
I
disgusting.
can't believe you did that to Mom. You're disgusting." And then she realizes, and by the way, Tommy, I work alone, okay? You're that guy at Coachella that's yelling at Sabrina Carpenter. Shut the F up. I'm in the middle of a story. Wait the truck. So then she realizes she has a little sister. And after she says, I can't believe you did that to Mom, she goes, twice.
It's about right, Tim?
I said, not before we were married.
You can't have that story out there.
Lucky to get 5 minutes a month, and that includes the apology letter and everything else, the cleanup. All right. Anyway, all right. Let's move on. So I think we transgress. All right. Just a few years. This is the LIV Golf story because LIV looks like it's dying. So in just a few years, LIV has gone from being a major threat to the PGA to now looking like a satellite tour. Nobody even knows where they are. In fact, during the last, and the article that we sent you, Tommy, during the last telecast during their tournament in Mexico, the telecast was it suffered technical issues, and they were down for several minutes. Now, whenever I hear the phrase Mexico City stream, I always think about when I lived in Mexico City and got sick. It's a whole different topic, so we'll get back that one. So anyway, so Peter, this is, you and I talked about LIV when it first came out. Saudi-backed, bankrolled by the Public Investment Fund, always a promotion for the royal family, sports washing themselves. And what's funny is that their biggest stars, John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, came in hot to the Masters. One was 38th. The other guy slamming his trunk on Friday. So they all melted down. And the guys on the PGA Tour said, oh, well, the LIV Tour doesn't get you ready for it. But whatever, you're hitting a golf ball at a country club. But Peter, you've always hated LIV. We were on opposite sides of this. I love the idea of it, but you hated it. So what's your take on it dying now?
I wouldn't say it was tough. I wouldn't say I hate it. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a CPA from way back, a business journalist for decades. The numbers never. I don't even think the LIV proponents, the numbers never penciled out as economic, as a business initiative. It was like you said, it was sports washing. It was the Saudis looking to play on a different scale. Maybe as a precursor, who knows, buying an NFL team, right? Or just national and international credibility. Mickelson and Norman, they're hard. Mickelson became, and Norman always, hard guys to root for. So we could all see this coming. Only the most hardcore golfers, Jim, Tommy, were like excited about, this team concept. Who does that appeal to? Certainly not a mass scale. And then 54 hole tournaments with guys playing in shorts and boom boxes going. It was inevitable. And even with the Saudis, even with the richest Gulf states, Jim, that old maxim comes back to me. Nobody has unlimited money. Even that.
That's a good point.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they put away the bone saws and they broke out the checkbooks.
Yeah.
They were throwing huge money at guys because they had to buy them. They had to bring them over, right? Now listen, I like competition. I like it when there's balance. But you know me, mostly I just like chaos. I always do. And I like that the Saudis got in there and upset the stodgy PGA and all of its members who, they act like they're royal family. And the Saudis came in and said, well, we're just going to buy these guys. Now, if you remember, when the Saudis started buying guys, there were two players on the PGA Tour who were scolding their playing mates and telling them, don't chase the money. Do you remember who the two guys were who told the guys?
Tiger and Rory.
Right, you bet. And you know what is funny is Tiger and Rory are sitting on a mound of money on the back of their giant yachts, and they're telling guys who are making $2-3 million a year, hey, don't sign that $50 million guaranteed contract to go play easy golf, which is generational money and will set you up forever. And I thought, who are you two dickheads to tell people what they can do in making a living? You guys dominate. All you have to do is show up and you're making 5 times what everybody else makes. If you want to say, hey, I want to support the PGA, I want my guys to support the PGA, but don't banish those guys, because once some of those guys signed, then Rory, right, he wished them into the cornfield. He was like, no more, you can't come back. It's all over. And I thought, you know what, dickhead, let the guy go make his money. He's not beating seals with a club. He's playing golf. Let him go make some money. Let the Saudis pay him. What do you care? Then you have less competition, because they siphoned out the best golfers. They weren't signing guys on the Nike tour. They weren't big names. They wanted instant credibility. So, I mean, that's why I looked at it.
I think they were hoping for success much quicker, and that's why the Saudis are out. They just see it, money going down the tubes, and it's not improving, and nobody's watching, and nobody cares.
Yeah, and maybe, Tommy, they haven't. They run the gamut. Everybody they approached is either giving them a yes or a no, and there's nowhere to go. So they can project down the road. It's not going to get better. Just going to keep losing money. So, well, Pete, you come from a Wall Street background. If it's not working, what did Gecko say? What did Gecko say? Why did you wreck my company? Because it's wreckable, right?
Why throw?
Good money after bad.
Good money after bad, exactly. And probably add in the state of current events, Strait of Hormuz and what's going on there. That's short term, but maybe that would factor in. And then on top of everything, they make the announcement this week, a few days after their nemesis, Rory McIlroy, wins a second Masters in a row.
Yeah,
and all the LIV guys, DeChambeau didn't even make the cut. That's their story.
And you know what? You know what's funny? Because I have friends that are in intelligence for America, and they have microphones inside the Saudi royal palace, and what's the Saudi prince that's leading now, ABS or ABR or whatever his name is. Right? He was yelling the same thing I was. Anybody but Rory. Anybody. That's what he. But listen, me, and I talked to you before that I love chaos. This is not the first time this happened. I made a list of when the status quo was challenged by some upstart. The AFL did this and succeeded. The ABA did this. All right, let's widen our umbrella. Galileo, Mandela, Spartacus, the Stones, Tesla, FedEx, the Dollar Shave Club, Steve Jobs, although he was a dick, New Coke, the BlackBerry, the Segway, the McDLT, Cheetos Lip Balm, Blockbuster, Harley Davidson perfume. I think I took an off ramp there. Those last ones
Harley
so
Davidson perfume.
Yeah, Harley Davidson perfume. How about that? That's amazing, huh? All right.
I think I know a guy who wears Harley Davidson perfume.
No, you don't. Oh, Dick Hammer made him. Dick Hammer. Oh, man.
And did somebody say AFL? Did somebody say
Oh, there it is.
AFL?
Yeah.
I don't know where my
Just
camera
name it.
is.
Namath running into the tunnel at the Orange Bowl, 16-7 over the Colts. Yep.
It's still a little small.
Anyway, but I think just to put a bow on it, I just the reason I like the LIV is I just liked watching the stumpy PGA get their hair ruffled, get a couple of noogies in there. Yeah.
I liked seeing the PGA pony up more for their purses.
They got a tournament this week. I'm hard pressed to say the name, and it's one of those. What did Jim? What did they call it? With this now, the PGA stepped up where they have to play it. It's a $20 million purse the week after the Masters. They didn't have it was half of that, and they've got like 10 of them. So
in the past, Tiger would be at a craps table and a brothel in Vegas during that week, right? Yeah.
Yeah, nobody played.
All right.
Nobody played the week after the Masters.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get out the talents to talk about Diana Russini. I know this is what people showed up for today.
Oh,
all right.
Man.
So the question is, can you ruin a career in a hot tub? It depends.
Yes.
Who you are in the hot tub. If you're a winning NFL coach who just went to the Super Bowl, probably not.
He's fine.
But if you're an easily replaceable liability, hit the bricks, sweetie. Thanks very much. So this is the slimy story of the week. I'll give you the background real quick. Diana Russini, NFL reporter for The Athletic. Mike Vrabel, the Patriots head coach, was in an affair, not an affair. Either way, you had to ask both of these people, what the hell are you thinking?
Thinking?
So here they are at a resort, a swanky resort outside of Scottsdale, and they're in a hot tub together in their bathing suits. Then they're seen on a terrace holding hands and hugging. Pete, Tommy,
they're square dancing.
I'll jump in at the end. Listen, yeah, it does look like that. Look, we've all worked in sports media for a long time. How many subjects, how many interview subjects or people that you covered did you hot tub with and hold hands with?
Well,
we over and under is 0.
You can ask us, but we can't ask you.
I did get a
look.
Well, I did get a back rub from Kurt Rambis one time, but it never really hurt.
Was it in a jacuzzi?
Look, this comes up.
What is she thinking?
Well, what is anyone in this day and age? What is anyone thinking who has an affair? It's gonna get found out. And it was an open secret. I mean, there's enough out there to know there's an open secret about the two of them going back to the Titans days. It seems. I mean, there's been so much written, so many. I've checked so many things. And it's kind of an open secret about her MO. And eventually, and what was it? The betting money says it was one of the spouses. By the way, both married, both with kids.
Right.
Let Hughes without. I'm not hope, but shame on them for that, of course. But what do they think in this day and age? And now the NFL meetings were a few hours away, but that's just the stupidity. And so, yeah, it often comes up like she's an insider. She's an investigative reporter. Jim, Tommy, yeah, you do have to get close, fraternize with the people, right? But there's one thing to have drinks at midnight at the hotel bar with coaches or whoever your sources are. This went way beyond that. And her letter the other days when she resigned, and of course, I get imminent pleasure from the fact that her employer is the New York Times. You know,
yes, the Athletic, owned by the New York Times. Yeah, and by the way,
Jason.
But the Athletic, of course, went with the believe all women path at the beginning, which
initially
they had to do. They asked her and she denied it. Said no, it was all innocent. Well, it's not innocent if you're in a hot tub and you're holding hands. You passed innocent a long time ago. And they said, okay, so is there anything else we need to know about? And she said no. And then they peeled back one layer of onion and saw the roach in it. And they said, all right, that's it. It took them 2 days to then tell her, you can resign or you can be fired. Now we know what's going on. And then she writes the farewell to the troops and denies.
Oh my God.
Diana, I'm sorry, but innocent people don't give up multi-million-dollar jobs in 2 days when you say there's nothing and there's no evidence. That's the act of a guilty person. You can be fired or resign, and you resign because you want to spend more time with your family. Well, if I'm that guy, I'm slamming suitcases because this has been going on a while, and either he's doing it too. I don't understand these people who just get humiliated and then stick around and say, "Oh, they promise they'll never do it again." But here's the last part of that.
We have one of those coming up.
If I was a prosecutor, I would have said, "So Diana, right away you said, oh no, it wasn't just me and Mike. There were 6 other people there." Well, I don't see anybody else in the pictures. You didn't identify anybody else, and nobody else has come forward to bail you out. So either there are no 6 other people, or they were doing the same thing you were, and they said, "Sweetie, you're on your own." Hey, where's the dirty half dozen? What happened to them? Where'd they go? Because then none of them are stepping up.
You mentioned they pulled back one layer on the onion. You open up any Reddit thread, you'll love this. So Philly Eagles, or just Philly Sports X or Twitter, has been all over this. So they have, I know, maybe they're legit, maybe they're not. They have massive wide shots of where supposedly there are other people. There is nobody around. So why is, and this really goes to the ethics of it, like you used, right? Why is Philly Sports, Philly X invested in this? Well, who has been pushing the A.J. Brown to the Patriots story for the last few months? Nobody else but Diana Russini. What could be her motivation? Who pushed the idea when Vrabel was out of work? They don't want to hire him because he's intimidating to owners and management. Diana Russini. So that's where it really gets. Now, and then they say, all right, so why is she getting punished? And she'll have a good career effectively ruined. She can Substack, Jim, Tommy. She can podcast. That's what the ones who get cast, right? So she still has an avenue.
Like
She'll
us?
never have. Yeah, so right.
She already got an offer. Pete, she already got an offer. She got an offer to do Miami Sports Talk Radio, ESPN. No,
there you go.
Stu Gotts, who used to work with Dan,
right? Miami, the worst.
Yeah. Oh, he said, "Oh, bring her down. We got a chair for her. We got a chair for." Well, your Sports Talk Radio, of course, you'll bring her in because people will tune in to listen, so she could talk about the dirty affair that wasn't. It's a gimmick. It's typical Sports Talk Radio. Bring in the lightning rod so I can, bring in more listeners. So whatever. If she's smart, she won't take that gig because that guy's just going to use her up. But look, here's the thing. We work in media, and if you get that close to a subject, it's all over because anything you get, if you're a woman, I'm talking about, there's a double standard. If you're a guy in a hot tub with Mike Vrabel, people just go, "What are you guys doing?" That's weird. but listen, we all know this. Whenever you see
that took a turn.
When you're a female, you have to keep professional distance. I didn't make the phrase up. It's in the AP style book. It says female reporters, people will already assume what you're trying not to portray. So don't get even closer. Once you go over that line, like if you pee in the hot tub, it's there. You can't ever get rid of it. She's done. She's tainted with this. She might get another job in a year or two, whatever. But we will always think this about her. And when she gets a scoop, you'll always question it. You're right. It's unfair. It's a double standard, women. You're right. It doesn't happen to men. I was a sideline reporter for the first 3 years of my career at Fox to punish myself for my sins. And then I was able to actually get a real job and go up to the booth. Now, listen, this is one of my jihads. What is it with sideline reporters? It is the last hireable position in television sports where you have to have no discerning ability except you're blonde and have a tight skirt. And that's all it is. What a shock. The best football journalists in America are 8s and above. Whoa, What happened? Well, it didn't used to be that way. Shelley Smith, Andrea Kramer, Michelle Tafoya, all good reporters. Yeah, and they're not going to make any calendars. But you know what? When they said something, you believed it. And I just, on a side, when I first started working USC football, Shelley Smith came to scout a game because she was doing, I think, ESPN the next week with them. Could not have been nicer, could not have been more helpful, could not have been more gracious and professional, giving me things, because she has a big staff, right? I'm working by myself for Fox. She came up and gave me stuff that she was going to use on national TV a week later. I'm on national TV for Fox. Never even crossed her mind that she's giving me something of hers. And I even said, Shelley, you don't have to give me this. And she said, no, it's a good story and it's relevant right now. You should do it. And she gave me the story and I gave her credit on air, even though I was on Fox, and that was during the Hatfield and the McCoy days of Fox and ESPN hating each other. And I said, I broke this story, and then the play-by-play guys upstairs, Barry Tompkins and Petros Papadakis, said, well, it's a great scoop. And I said, hey, I got to be honest. I'm down here talking to Shelley Smith from ESPN, and she mentioned it to me and gave me some of the background. And then I went and asked a couple of people, because I'm not going to take that and walk away with it and pat myself on the back. Anyway, Shelley Smith is a real professional. But they all got pushed out because every time a vice president from a sports network went to Houston's and had a couple of martinis and got winked at by the cocktail waitress, we had a new sideline reporter. None of them were trained. None of them knew what they were doing. They weren't professional. And then you stuff them into a locker room or a tunnel with a bunch of, alpha males, and you're shocked that lines get crossed and it becomes confusing for people. So I cannot tell you how many times I have seen a female reporter get put on a beat of a team. And I don't know why. I always would warn my female sideline reporters, listen, do not get close to the players. Don't hug them. They're going to want to hug you. Don't hug them. Don't give them your phone number. Don't share personal information. I would tell them, don't do any of this, because people already think you're doing it. They already think you're ending up in their hotel room with them. So if you give them anything, that just solidifies it, right? And I kid you not, every single one of them eventually would start hugging players, sharing her phone number, always giving me inside. Well, what do you think he's giving you inside information for? Because he thinks you're a great reporter? Eventually, he's a man. Eventually, he's going to try to use the leverage. And they would fall for it every single time. And I just get so sick of it. The problem with Andrea Kramer and Shelley Smith and Michelle Tafoya is they violated their contracts when they turned 40, right? Because we always want to put a 22-year-old on the sideline. And then when they make a mistake and get fired and embarrass the network, the executives are like, well, how could how could they have done that? They were serving wings at a Hooters last Thursday, and now that you put them on national TV, they don't have any training. Of course this happens. And nobody has a problem. Wait a minute, where are all the Me Too women, and where's all the female activists in our country that are asking for equal treatment? All of a sudden, all these hot blondes show up on college football sidelines, and everybody's okay with it. I'm the only one am I the only one who notices this? Is this okay? We're going to still play this card. It's okay in this corner. I don't understand that. Why is that still okay?
By the way, you know who showed up out of obscurity on YouTube and whatnot? You know where you worked with her. It was Lisa Guerrero in the last couple of weeks because of this scandal breaking. She goes, look, I got fired because I made a mistake, like an honest mistake.
Right.
And so she's
and it's great. It's great you bring her up. So Lisa Guerrero's gotten a bad rap. I used to anchor with her at Fox in LA.
You respected her.
She was great. She She didn't pretend she knew more than she did. She had been a Raiders cheerleader, and she was good looking, and people started to notice her, and she got into broadcasting. Fox and who would hire somebody who didn't have a journalistic background and hand them a microphone. Now, I will tell you this. She never pretended to be a journalist. She didn't try to act like with us. She was very cool. And when we were anchoring together, she would ask me, things that you might learn in J school or first couple of years on a job working, in West Palm Beach in a small station, or Scottsbluff, Nebraska market 212, where you make your mistakes and nobody sees it, all that stuff. But Lisa didn't try to pretend. She would say, can you help me? What do I do? How do I do this? And I'd always say, right to the pictures. It's TV. And I remember the first night I anchored with her, we were anchoring the Fox Sports Report in LA, and she was reading her last story, and in my ear, my producer goes, hey, dude, we're like 2 minutes short. I'm going to need you to fill. So all I did, because you have your scripts in front of you, right? And you're moving them over as you go through the show. I just went to the very first story, which was, I think that night, Angels highlights. And I just brought it back up because I knew Lisa knew the Angels. She had done some stories. So I brought that up and I said, hey, we still got a little bit of time. I want to rerun those Angels highlights in case you missed it at the top. And they re-racked it really quick. And I led into it. And the director says to me, he says, we're ready. They roll it. And I do the Angel highlights again. And then I turned to Lisa and I asked her a question about the Angels and asked her opinion on something that I knew she knew because she had done a feature on a couple of pitchers. Whatever, we finish. And they count us out. I'm like, hey, for Lisa Grubb, Jim Watson, that's the Fox Sports Report. Boom, and we're clear. And Lisa rolls her chair over and hugs me. And she's like, oh my gosh, I heard we were 2 minutes short. I froze. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like any of us would have done, but I'd been on TV for 15 years by then. Poor Lisa had been on TV for 15 minutes. And they just kind of left her twisting. And, thank goodness I was a veteran and I set it up. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Probably nobody was watching anyway. But she was so thankful. So then when I saw that she had that mistake on the field where she interviewed the wrong player, and listen, it happens when they come out without their jerseys. These guys are wearing helmets most of the time. And it's happened to everybody. It's happened to me. And this is where it happened to me. I was filling in for Bill McDonald, who's now the voice of the Lakers. At Fox, he was, besides doing every team in town, one of them was the Kings. And he would do the between periods interviews, pregame, between period interviews, and the postgame for the Kings. But he also did the Lakers and the Angels. And so he would have conflicts. And I was the low man on the totem pole. And Billy was a friend of mine. And he would say, hey, I got to do, both Angels and Kings next week. You're going to do the other one. Do you care? And I'd say, no, Billy, I'm just happy to work, right? Whatever you want to do. Billy lived in Orange County. So he'd say, well, I'll do the Angels. You can drive to LA. And I'd say, okay. So I got the Kings. But I hadn't seen a Kings game in a month. And maybe I'd seen 2 the whole year, right? And that was in a bar with the sound down. So
and they wear helmets.
Right. And they wear helmets, glass, and they look down, brother. They're always looking down. So I don't know any of these guys. So, but they got jerseys on. So I finished pregame show and they say, you're going to do the interview at the end of the first period outside the Kings dressing room. So I'm watching the first period and it gets about 5 minutes left and there's a whistle. And I said, well, I'm going to go downstairs now. But while you're leaving, right? So I'm in the press box, but when you work your way down, I'm at Staples Center, where they call it the Crypt now. But when I'm working my way down to the locker rooms, to the dressing rooms, I'm blind. I can't see a TV. I don't have any audio. I don't know what's happening anymore. And something happened in the game. As I come out of the stairwell, I hear the crowd going crazy. So I walk down the hallway and there's the audio guy, my cameraman, my light guy, and they're like, come on. They're coming off the ice. So boom, I put my IFB in, I grab the microphone, and I look at my cameraman. I go, what just happened? And he goes, oh, dude, it was awesome. Great goal. And he got about that far. And here comes the guy out of the dressing room with the PR guy for the Kings. And the guy is not wearing his jersey. He's just got his shoulder pads and his undershirt and his pants and his skates. He's not wearing a jersey. I have no clue who this guy is. None. And I also don't know who scored the goal. Could have been him. All I know is he's not a goaltender because he doesn't have on pads. So I just said, hey, great way to end a period. And he started answering it. And then I said, listen, you get momentum at the end of a period, but you have a 20-minute break. Will that momentum carry over? And he said, that's a great question. He goes, really, by the time we get in there and get some Gatorade and use the bathroom and talk, he goes, you go back out and you got to look up and see what the score is. We play 120 of these things a year. And he says, yeah, it's a really, really good point. And I said,
it's like when you meet somebody that you don't remember their name, you're trying everything.
Yeah. So here's the kicker. Here's the kicker to the whole story.
Describe that goal.
So here's the kicker to the whole story. I'll need you to mute your mics. So yeah, no, I didn't do that. I knew it could have been him, so I didn't do it. So then I said, hey, so you got 40 minutes of hockey. What's it going to take to put this thing away? And he gave me the great answer, and we finish it. And I go, great stuff as always. Good to see you, man. Send it back upstairs, to the boys in the booth. And they go, and clear. And the light goes out, and I hand my microphone back to my audio guy. And I turned to him and go, hey, man, thanks for doing that. And he goes, I'm really sorry, man. He goes, I have no idea who you are. And I said, that's all right. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm not offended. To this day, I still don't know who it was. Because he put his jersey on. They went back out. I never looked to see if he was the guy that scored the goal. I don't know who I interviewed, but it was one of the best interviews it almost ended up on my resume reel. It was that good an interview. And I literally never introduced him, never called him by name, and I didn't even know he was a defender or a forward. I had no idea. Who knows? And he had no idea who I was.
Why didn't you just pull a Carissa Thompson and not interview the guy, but say you did?
and then get a raise.
And you'd be fine.
Raise and a promotion, and everything's okay. Yeah, talk about double standard. All right, let's move on. In another story that apparently gives men an easier escape, former Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore. By the way, what's a Sherrone? Is anybody? Is there ever been anyone else named Sherrone? I've never heard the name before. And I've seen a lot of names. I've done 40 years of play-by-play, and so you see a lot of names. I mean, it's cool, but I don't know. I don't know where it comes from.
Sherrone Moore.
I thought about that too. Yeah, Mama. The Knack, a great 80s band.
Nice.
Wonder. So Moore was in his second season. Again, I'm sure people know the story. Second season in Ann Arbor, when his career, his reputation, and I thought his marriage all blew up in one afternoon, and he was nowhere near a football field. So it was discovered that Moore, again, another guy married with 3 kids, having an affair with a 2-year affair with a staffer in Ann Arbor. How can the football coach do anything in Ann Arbor that not everybody knows about? I bet if you go out and get a slice,
everyone did.
Before you finish it, everybody knows what flavor it is. It's amazing. So anyway, but he kept giving her big bumps in salary and position. This is weird. And those are all fireable offenses.
Big bumps in position.
But then when the girlfriend tried to break it off, then he went nuts, went to her house. He didn't break in because she had given him the code. So he got in and he grabbed a butter knife. I don't know. Does somebody want a bagel? I'm not with a butter knife. So, and he threatened to hurt himself. There's his wife, who was the only hero in the story. More on her in a minute. Anyway, he eventually ran from the girl's apartment, later arrested in the church parking lot. He loses his job. He's arrested. But his wife, amazingly, goes to jail, bails him out, says she's going to stick by him. They have 3 kids. I mean, God bless her. And if you read the accounts during the sentencing, and he, by the way, I buried the lead. He got 18 months probation. They were all misdemeanors. Wouldn't have been for you and me, but his wife, and I'm not going to use her name because she deserves to be anonymous, but the judge took like 5 minutes to say to her, you're an amazing person and you're going to help him through this and you're going to keep your family together. And he kept commending her while ignoring him. And he's just sitting there like, I'm just glad I got probation, right? He didn't have to go to jail. His wife's not leaving him. And Peter, in 2 or 3 years, he's going to get another gig because they all do. Now, it's going to be a directional school. It's going to be State Tech U, but he's going to get paid to coach football again.
Well, there's way more. Look, starts with the prosecutors. There were felonies, and they dropped that initially, that amazed me. All right, I get it. Well, first of all, between Michigan and Michigan State, they're clogging the court system. Right? In Michigan.
Where's USC? We missed them.
But you're a Michigan man. What does that mean?
Yeah, it used to mean something.
Back in the day.
So so was that he's was the head coach at, well, not a winner, but he was the head coach at Michigan. So was that what prosecutors were doing here? Maybe. So this judge, they were misdemeanors. He could have given him jail time. He did give him 6 months, but suspended the sentence, which means only if he violates the probation will he have to do jail time. But it wasn't so much the judge being lenient as it was, I think, the prosecutors. He had a knife up. Was he threatening himself? But what a harrowing experience. She's no angel, of course. She's having an affair with a married guy for several years. But how do you drop their felonies for I'm not going to get for breaking it? I mean, multiple felonies. They just dropped those and made it misdemeanors. So, and I looked into this judge a little bit. Mixed bag.
Wait, when he dismissed court, did I hear him whistling "Hail to the Victors"?
He was better than that. They're kindred spirits. Did you know about this? So the judge had I'm not lying. He had an intern. The intern, I think his last name was Simpson or I don't want to be careful here. 2014 or so, he had an intern. They may or may not have been having an affair. I recently read it. They were. And so it's funny because there's been a number of cases that have come out of the Ann Arbor Superior Court system, and someone said, "Is this the only judge in Ann Arbor?" Because there's been a few other things. But they're having. So I'll make it quick. They're having it. Whether they were, she gets popped for DUI. He shows up at the arrest. He's trying to get it. That's 2014. It's not. Maybe anyway. And then he interfered. There's like a trail of like 10,000. I'm not lying on the number. Text messages, emails between the two of them. So the equivalent of the Bar Association for judges wants him disbarred for life. He gets 9 months, no pay. This judge. So he's questionable. There are other accounts that he's... so he's questionable.
Listen,
the whole thing...
Peter, this has got Michigan's fingerprints all over it. They wanted this to go away. It's an embarrassment. Yes. So they run that town. They run most of that state. Somebody made a call.
They
Somebody
certainly run Ann Arbor.
Tickets. It's all taken care of. Hey, we're not mad at him. We save $5 million a year firing this guy, and we get Whittingham from Utah because they ran him out of Salt Lake City. Whittingham's awesome. That's a huge upgrade for them, and they're paying him about the same amount of money. So Michigan just wanted this thing to go away. And listen, if University of Michigan football wants something to go away in the state of Michigan, they'll make it go away. Not even Gretchen Whitmer could have stopped this.
Jim, if he had only beaten Ohio State. They knew about this. They knew about this for years.
They knew about it. If he had beaten Ohio State, it would still be going on. They would have got him a new girlfriend.
He's the coach.
That's all that matters.
All right. He's texting during games.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Could you imagine?
All right. That's it. I think that's our shortest show, and it was still really long because you had to tell all those stories again. All right. Since this is the internet, we're not out of time, but we are out of topic, and we know that you're out of patience. We were planning a full preview of the WNBA, every team, but it turns out they're all the same, so nobody cares. For Weitzner, for Catlin, for Dick Hammer, for Diana Russini's weak explanation, for my LIV Golf Forever tramp stamp, and for Sherrone Moore's roller skates. I'm Jim Watts. For further review, we'll be back next week. Normally we bump out with some relevant music, but we keep getting monetized by YouTube. So Tommy will just play us out with a little surf piece and take it away, Tommy. See you next week.